Hi friend, today's pick a card reading is us taking a look at a connection that you are currently struggling with. So this doesn't have to be a romantic connection, this can be platonic, this can be family, friend, workplace, anything like that. Any kind of connection where you're really kind of struggling to make sense of what's going on. We're going to try and take a look at the common ground, so to say, within this connection. I'm hoping just to give you some pointers to help you figure out what is going on in this connection and possibly where it is headed. I have prepared 3 piles with a single tarot card. We will be pulling everything during the readings. So let me show you what I've accompanied these with. We are looking at broken seashells. I thought that was kind of fitting because a troubled connection, possibly a broken connection, there's often still something to learn from that situation. So turning away from it fully is not always the wisest choice. At least, we want to examine what's going on. And so for pile 1, this is your broken seashell. And just wanted to point out that even broken seashells are still beautiful in their own right. Look at this one. This is pile 2. We have some cream colored swooshes here. Very scientific terms. And then behind, oh, it's kind of like a very clean facade, and behind it we see a very different side. And then for pile 3, we got some more swooshes. These are more gray and blue tones, and I really like how this one curves in. We have a really nice, almost donut-like quality here. Now I sound like I'm trying to sell you these seashells. So that is pile 3. The timestamps will be in the description below, so if you want to, you can go ahead, jump there. I will meet you at your reading. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a moment to kind of focus on these 3 piles to make up your mind, see which one is calling you the most. And just before I leave you, please remember the only way to book a reading with me is through my website. I will never solicit readings via DMs or messages. Let's leave that there, and I will meet you at your reading. Hi Group 1, this is your reading if you chose this very large and bold orange part of a conch, right? We are going to set that right up here, and then we're going to get right into your reading. So I'm going to turn around this first tarot card that we have, and we have the 5 of Swords. So the first card that I pulled out for me was kind of like an overview, like a taste of what is going on in this connection right now. We are looking at troubled or difficult connections. The 5 of Swords is, yeah, that is right on brand here. It feels like this is a situation that has gone on for some time. I just heard beating a dead horse, but I don't know. I don't feel like Spirit is saying you're beating a dead horse. I feel more like you may be feeling like you're beating a dead horse at this point when you're thinking about it, or when you're trying to come up with new angles. You just feel like you're regurgitating a situation that is long done. But there's something here where you're feeling, even if somehow through this connection, if there was some kind of open conflict or if there was some kind of subverted conflict, no matter which way, I think you came out of this situation standing a little bit taller than your counterpoint, and you feel some kind of responsibility around that. Almost as if, like, I don't know if you had to be the bigger person or you're feeling this strong responsibility to be the bigger person, but then I'm almost sensing the struggle between not wanting to be the bigger person, like wanting to get away with things the way other people get away with things. There's some kind of tension there. Okay, before I get too much into it though, I'm going to start pulling some archetype cards. So the way I'm doing this is I am pulling 2 cards for you and 2 cards for the other person in this connection. The first card in each is going to be what you brought to the connection at your worst, and then the second card in each is going to be what you brought to the connection at your best. So who you showed up as in the connection at your worst and at your best, and then we will look at the other person, and we'll kind of get a mediator card that kind of shows us some insight into how those different aspects kind of came together. So this is for my pile group 1. We are taking a look at who were they in this connection when they were at their worst? This connection at their worst. We have healer. And all these archetype cards have a light attribute and a shadow attribute, and that is what we're looking at. So at first, healer sounds pretty nice, right? But give me just a moment to pull all of these, and then we'll get into it. And who was pile 1, group 1, at their best within this connection? At their best. Oh, we're taking the first one. My goodness, okay. Just making sure. We have student. And then for the other person in this connection, who were they at their worst within this connection? Who were they at their worst? These cards are a little chaotic. We have child, divine. And who were they at their best? Beggar. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have liberator. Interesting. Okay, so let me tell you the shadow and light attributes of what we have out for you. So at your worst, it says taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. At your best, we have the student, humility and devotion to knowledge, openness to lifelong learning. At their worst, we have an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. At their best, we have confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. And in the middle here, we have liberator. So this is kind of like the common ground of the connection. We have liberator, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. And so that was, I think, the common ground for the both of you. What I'm looking at here is on your end, when you're at your best within this connection, you were open to seeing things a different way. And I still see that in what we talked about, right? It seems like you're still trying to make sense of this connection, even if it might have cease to exist, or even if right now it is not a presence in your life. I think you're still trying to gain knowledge from the situation. So, at your best within this connection, you're really open to connecting with someone who you felt like you could gain a new perspective from. And at their best, they were actually really trying to it's very interesting because on their side there's a little bit more distance. um, I think you were more open to either dealing with the conflict or dealing with any kind of vulnerability within this connection, because conflict oftentimes is vulnerability itself. Um, and so I think you were more kind of eager to get into things that are a little bit more complicated. I think you were a lot more eager to figure this situation out. And this might also be why we have this Five of Swords, especially in this deck. The Five of Swords is actually standing alone. And in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we see some other people in the background. Here we only see bodies laying on the ground in the background. So there's only this one person standing, last man standing. And I feel like that's you. I feel like this part of the connection has kind of like checked out. And at their best, I think they were very aware of not being able to fully show up. And if that's your best, that's kind of already let's take a look at the worst. When both of you were showing up at your worst, for you, that meant possibly over controlling. We have the healer. So you were possibly trying to make something work. That's why we got beating a dead horse earlier, right? You were trying to heal something that had no prospects of growth. There was no prospects of healing. When we're thinking about the connection, there was definitely prospects in you healing separately, but there was no way for you to heal this together. But in some capacity, I think you definitely are a very introspective person. I think you are a very sensitive person, and you're very sensitive to other people's emotions. And so you have this healer quality within you, but within this connection, it showed up as your worst because you wanted to heal something that wasn't trying to allow you to heal it. And the fact that we have liberator in the middle as a common ground, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, just tells me that this is something that you had to grow through. Especially with this tree imagery, it's something you have to grow through to learn that you have to respect other people's boundaries, and you have to especially respect your own boundaries, that you cannot overstep your own boundaries to heal others, that there is a way to heal connections, but only when you both show up. And this other person, I don't think, is showing up. When they showed up as their worst self, it was an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. Now, that's not saying that you are the negative force, but that definitely, it feels like this energy, this person is very eager to connect, and yet they struggle to hold on to those connections. So I do feel like I see them bouncing around connections, and they stay for as long as it feels good, as long as they get a dopamine hit out of this connection, as long as they are made to feel special, as long as they are. I'm almost getting like a very flirtatious vibe over here, but then when it comes to real connection, vulnerability, this person has some issues to work through on their own, where they're not able to align the idea of them wanting external sources to make them feel special, but them not being able to internalize that. But we are taking a look at the connection, and I want to focus mostly on you because this is about what you can gain from this. And we're not trying to do any more emotional labor for other people, right? So we are focusing on us, but the context matters. In the middle, we have Liberator because this is about setting you free, but I think it's also about you setting them free, which can be really troublesome if this is a connection that is just always present. That can re-trigger you, meaning if this is family or a close friend, where you just kind of feel like you want to level something out and it's not in your hands. It's just not in your hands. This person is going through their own journey to try and balance out their external and internal world. And you, I think, have done a lot of work in that regard. At the same time, though, you need to work on your feeling of responsibility, which again is boundaries. Because in some capacity, you feel responsible. You feel like if a connection isn't flowing effortlessly, that it must be something that is within your control. And that is something that you need to let go of, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. You also need to release the idea that, again, that this is within your control, but also that it is about you. Because I feel strongly that this, whatever this person is working through on their end, it has nothing to do with you. So any kind of rejection that you felt from this connection was actually meant to trigger you into liberating yourself from this connection, distancing yourself. The rejection was meant to deter you from trying to cling your teeth into this to try and figure it out. Oof, wow. Okay, that was a lot. I need to keep moving because I want to pull other stuff. So let's take a look at some astro dice. We have the fourth house, and we have the moon, and we have Capricorn. The fourth, and again, we're taking a look at you, okay? We're not necessarily, we are trying to figure out this connection, but we're taking the approach to try and figure out how can we help you manage this difficult connection, and how can we together kind of work through what you're facing because of this connection. And so what you're facing because of this connection, I think has a lot to do with your emotional foundation, and how you do need to be very aware of your boundaries, and again, other people's boundaries as well. That's what I'm seeing with this Capricorn, because it is about creating a outline for your foundation. And the moon in there obviously talking about the emotional resonance of your foundation. Let's see. I'm trying to see what decks are calling. I mean, I've picked out my decks already, but I've got to decide the order. Can we get some insight for group one? Some insight on this connection. What do we need to bring awareness to? Emotional energy. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. This for me is connecting to what I had just said about the emotional resonance that this connection gave you was meant to trigger you into a place of liberating yourself of the responsibility of this, because what they are working through is not, it's not your job to guide them through. And because you have healer and student, I feel that you probably have this strong draw to help people. But there's just, you can only help people if they let you in, if they invite you in. And it may have been very frustrating to you because it felt like they were very inviting, and yet that invitation came from a place of lack. That didn't actually come from a place of vulnerability. That invitation came from a place of needing either attention or needing affirmation, like needing to be seen, because they're having a difficult time doing that on their own. And that's not to say that you're not struggling with your own things, right? So this whole situation was about figuring out emotional energy, which is why we have the moon here as well. Let's get some advice around this. Some advice in dealing with this connection. Very hesitant. Let's get some advice in dealing with this connection. Access clear thinking. Interesting. So I think that's something that you have been trying to do with this Five of Swords, access clear thinking. And yet, I think that you've been, notice how the card, I was trying to lay it over here, but then I instinctively felt the need to lay it over here. Because I think what you've been doing is you've been trying to figure this situation out from the outside. Notice that there is a maze up here, and it feels like you thought if you figure out what's wrong with them, what's wrong with them, that would resolve the situation. But that's not the case. The situation that needs to be resolved is actually on your end, because they need to do their own labor and you need to do your own labor. This Liberator card is strongly asking to only take care of your share, only clean up your workstation. I don't know why I said it that way. But there is something here about you really bringing awareness to only being able to digest what is actually in your stomach. Such weird wording, but you can't digest something someone else ate, right? And it's not your job. And you just need to focus on what you ate from this connection, and that's something you need to digest. And I think, again, very strongly for you, that has to do with emotional boundaries. And I will say it again because I feel it's really, really important. The rejection that you felt from this person was necessary to liberate you from your responsibilities. Your sense of responsibility, because they weren't it wasn't your responsibility. Get some advice. The magic within. I really love that this card came out because it really underlines that even when you showed up as your worst within this connection, you were still trying to heal, you were still trying to do good. However, you need to be aware of, and I know I'm repeating myself, that's why I know I need to wrap it up because we got most of it out. You really need to be aware of your emotional boundaries and your spiritual boundaries as well. You need to be aware that there is power in your ability to connect and heal, but you can't afford to go out and connect and heal every single person that crosses your way. Even if this is a very significant connection, significant person in your life, even more so, it brings in a lesson of, okay, I need to work on my skill of healing, especially because you're still a student, right? I mean, we all are students of life. You're just very inquisitive, and you really want to know what's wrong, how can we fix this? However, there's a time and place, and that time and place is when this person reapproaches you and says, you know what, I've been looking at this way. I'm really trying to figure it out. Would you want to work this through and fix this? That's when you come into action. But you cannot force healing onto people. And that, I think, is a very important lesson for you, because I think you've been probably, it's a possibility that you've recently become aware, in recent years, become aware of your sensitivity towards healing, and it's a muscle you're trying to flex, not in an arrogant way, but you're like, no, 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 I figured this out, but this person is just not willing to, they don't have the same perspective. And so something that's really exciting to you, because you're like, no, 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 this is doable, we can figure it out, they haven't reached that yet. And so to them, it feels like a threat, because it feels like you're wanting to prod. And again, I'm not trying to get into too much about what is going on with them, but it does feel like you needed to experience this distance in order to really comprehend boundaries. I'm going to get one last oracle card, and then I'm going to close this out. And this one we're going to read from the booklet. To the moon and back. I'm going to set this in the middle right here. Let's read it. It is 51. Desires, wishes, longings. Look at this woman sitting on a swing shaped like the moon. Again, moon, emotions. She gazes longingly into the distance, this person, as if she would like to be somewhere else. Although her skirt is made out of feathers, she stays seated and does not fly away. This card speaks about strong desires. Sometimes we crave what we don't have. Instead of taking action, we remain passive and let our dreams fall unknown. Let the powerful magic of the moon reveal any unpredictable desires. There's definitely a call here for you to examine your emotional desire to fix this, your emotional need to address this, even though this person seems very distant. Because that is all about like the desire for controlling this situation. And the situation, again, arise to kind of liberate you from this. So that's why you're being asked to really take a look at your behavior. However, I do feel like you're clearly already like beating a dead horse. So, you know what, let me get some last tarot cards just to get some advice on how Spirit wants you to move forward with this. I think we want some more concrete advice. We have the Seven of Wands. We have the Four of Swords. And we have the King of Cups. This is asking you, Seven of Swords at the bottom of the deck, this is asking you to take a look at your... First of all, again, a strong reminder of boundaries, but this is asking you to take a look at where are you kind of fighting windmills, is what I'm hearing. Which that term of fighting windmills is about fighting things that, it's not your business fighting. There's a time to rest, and there's a time to especially because I said digest earlier. And when we digest, we're supposed to rest, right? We're supposed to find stillness and let your stomach digest. And in this case, it's possibly your emotional center needs to really digest this and get comfortable with the stillness of the distance, because this distance is establishing a boundary, and that is what we're trying to integrate the idea of being emotionally accepting of a boundary, because it is healthy. That's what we're looking at here. So moving forward, you need to understand that it's futile to fight these things on your own. So let it rest. Give yourself a break. You know, when these ideas come up, you know, it's oftentimes when we're unoccupied, the ideas of old connections resurface. So try to find meaningful distractions. And the King of Cups, does want to make sure that everyone is, see, he's even still like looking over there. The King of Cups wants to make sure that everyone is okay and taken care of. But first of all, the King of Cups needs to make sure that he is sitting on a, come on, sturdy foundation. This is exactly what I was talking about with this moon and Capricorn energy. Making sure that you have a sturdy foundation and a solid understanding of your boundaries. So this distance for right now is something that is necessary to establish these boundaries. Again, you cannot make them come. You cannot make them want to fix things. So you really kind of have to just take care of your plate and let the rest fall where it may. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's got a little bit longer than I anticipated, but yeah, it needed to come out, so I let it out. Thanks for hanging out with me. I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 2. This is your reading. If you chose this gorgeous partial seashell, we're going to set it right up here, and we're going to turn around your tarot card. Oh my, we have the Devil. So this first card is a representation of the connection overall. So right away, I can see why this is a troublesome connection. There's definitely some unhealthy attachment here. It might be an unhealthy connection to begin with, or it might be something that really kind of just brings out the worst in you, kind of, you know, just triggers you in a certain way. But it also could indicate an unhealthy attachment, as in codependence, or just really feeling the need to control. So we're going to get right into it, and we're going to pull 2 cards for each person. So what we're doing here is we are taking a look at who are you at your worst in this connection, who are you at your best, and then we're pulling the same for the other person. So let's get right into it. For group 2, who are they in this connection at their worst? Who are they at their worst? We have Mother. And these archetype cards have light attributes and shadow attributes, but so sometimes something that seems like, oh, that would be a positive thing, I'll be able to explain it later when we have all the cards out. Who are you within this connection when you show up as your best? We have the Hermit. Yeah, I'm getting codependence vibes already. The other person in this connection, who are they at their worst? When they show up in this connection at their worst, Who are they at their worst in this connection? We have Don Juan. Not a fan of that. Who are they at their best? We have Midas, miser. And then in the common ground area, we have damsel. Okay, so let me read you the attributes. So for you, within this connection, this is quite the image, huh? I just looked up in the viewfinder and this is with the devil in the middle there. When you show up at your worst within this connection, it says smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. Doesn't have to be children, right? At your best, seek solitude to focus intently on inner life, serves personal creativity. The other person, at their worst, using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. At their best, entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. Oh, I'm getting a strong image. The common ground is understanding the nature of healthy romance inspires you to rely on yourself. Wow. I mean, if this isn't straightforward, I don't know what is. Okay. If you came to this pick a card reading and you are trying to figure out a connection that is not romantic in nature, this one does feel very romantic in nature. It does feel, it just does. However, I will try my best to keep it neutral. What I'm picking up on is that from your end, within this connection, I'm seeing strong attachment issues. Let's say it that way. It doesn't have to be codependence, but I am seeing strong attachment issues. There is this drive on your end to really want to nurture the connection. I think you really wanted it to grow into something. And so you came into this connection with a lot of either hope or expectation or a strong sense of responsibility of like, this is something that I like, that I want to make work. The other person, and I'm going to focus a lot on you because we are done doing emotional labor for other people, okay? But we are going to take a quick look at how they show up in this connection. And the way I see them showing up in this connection is at their best, they probably inspired you and they probably really enjoyed sharing experiences. This feels like the kind of person who is really drawn to experiences in life in general, and sharing those experiences excites them. So they might not be the best with boundaries because I get the sense that they probably don't adhere to standard boundaries when it comes to relationships, because they just go wherever it feels right, right? I'm not trying to say that they don't respect commitment, but I do get the sense that they probably are likely not the kind of person that takes commitments too seriously, because they get distracted by the temptation of experience. They really blossom when they get to experience things, and that can be in a negative and also in a positive way. but that is really kind of a driving force for them. And I think that gets them in a lot of trouble. And that's why we have, at their worst, they show up in this connection as using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. And they might not even fully be aware of doing that, meaning there is some sense of emotional manipulation, because I think they rise this sense of connection. Like they probably turn up the heat, they probably intensify, like I think they have very intense engagements with people. And on your end, I am really seeing like that led you, like I think you were in a emotional state where you were really waiting to receive something so that you can help it grow. And I just don't think that this is the case on this side for this other person. And so the common ground here, understanding the nature of healthy romance, inspires you to rely on yourself, is very much reflected in, at your best within this connection, you show up as the hermit, seek solitude to focus intently on inner life, serves personal creativity, which I think this means that their excitement, their like vigor for life, the way that they really experience things probably inspired you in a way to try to get attached to that excitement and therefore them, but also inspired you in a creative manner. Like whether the beauty of the connection inspired you to create like art or anything, or whether the heartache of the connection inspired you to create. But there's something where on your own, because when you're with them, I think they're way too distracting. But when there is this distance, and it feels like an enforced distance, especially with the hermit, like probably I wouldn't be surprised if this connection has a lot of back and forth, maybe blocking each other, feeling drawn to each other, and then trying to, like a magnet. When a magnet is in the wrong position, it repels, right? So when two magnets are in the wrong position, they repel each other. And that's what I'm feeling. It's like either like strong attraction or repelling energies. The point of this connection is to help you understand how to have healthy engagement with another person. So it's not all in or all out, but how to establish that two people can come together in union and still stay individuals. Because what I see on your end when we're talking about how you show up at your worst is this smothering nature, this smothering of like, no, 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 I want, yeah, we know you like having wonderful experiences. I don't want you to have any of those without me. That's what I'm sensing here. Like the mother doesn't want to miss any of her baby's first steps, right? So it's this energy of like, no, 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 you are my project. I want to be there when you have these experiences. Therefore, probably also feeling like you shouldn't have any of those beautiful experiences with anyone else. And that's not something that this person is capable of committing to. And so it then becomes this, because it does say instilling guilt. So there might be, it says children, but instilling guilt for becoming independent. So when this person is like out doing their little dance, there's this sense of the dance that you two have then becomes guilt, or making the other person feel bad for craving those experiences or actually seeking out those experiences. And then there's a lot of passion here that draws you back together, because that guilt probably, like, or that the anger, the passion that you throw at them probably then excites them, and they kind of, it just goes back and forth. And again, the point of this is for you to recognize that when you are on your own, when you are independent, you're actually able to use a lot of this this input, because that's what it is. Like, I don't want to call it drama, but it is a lot of back and forth between a connection, and it's a lot of emotional and a lot of experiential input that you're experiencing. And when you pull away from it a little bit, it allows you to actually digest it in a way that is productive. And that productivity, I think, is something that you are going to lean towards in order to detach from this situation. And that's going to help you to become more independent and see the value in nurturing your own project, nurturing something other than a connection with this person. Let's roll some dice. Oh, we have the 11th house. We have the North Node, and we have Aquarius. I love this. The 11th house is the house of social groups, larger like social nets, but it is also the house of dreams, hopes, and aspirations. The North Node energy is where this is pulling you. It's pulling you to reach for more than just attachment to this specific connection. Aquarius, I think you have a lot more to offer. This mothering energy that is coming through at your worst, that still means that you have the capability to employ this energy at your best as well, which is nurturance, patience, unconditional love. I think you're looking for a vessel for that. I think you're looking for somewhere to put that into. And this person is just not the kind of person that is able to receive that, because they receive that kind of energy through experiencing it themselves. They're not just waiting to receive it from you. And so I think you are looking to put that into something, and what you're actually needing to put that into is your larger hopes, your larger dreams, your artistic or creative expression, or your larger social groups. That is really where you want to focus that energy, because with this Aquarius energy, it is actually really going to help and support others in a much bigger way. This person, if you were to put a lot of that energy, this beautiful energy that you are fostering, if you were to just put that into this person, I don't think they know what to do with it. They wouldn't be able to value it, and it wouldn't grow. It would just sit on their shelf, if that makes sense. If you focus this energy on yourself and then put it into what you're creating, it's going to flourish out into the world and then grow into ways that you can't even conceive. And so that's why this is happening, because you need to understand that there is beauty in you relying on yourself and creating for yourself from your experiences, and that it really kind of helps other people also emotionally. I'm getting the strong vibes of maybe you would write a song, or you would create an art piece in direct response of kind of digesting this whole connection, and that is something that other people would be really happily connecting with, feeling like, oh my God, that is exactly what I'm going through, and that's what I've been feeling. Especially with this Aquarius energy, because Aquarius is the water bearer. Aquarius's energy is really good at, because it is an air sign, it is really good at communicating emotions and making sense of them. But in order to do that, you need to figure them out on your own. And so you show up as your best self within this connection when you actually distance yourself from the dependency of this fiery exchange. Let's get some oracle cards. Trust me, I know the excitement of a connection like this, but ultimately, I think if you both show up as your worst selves continuously in this connection, if it's not going well, you're just going to burn each other out. You know, it's gonna get really intense and really ugly. I also want to tell you, because this damsel is the kind of common ground between the two of you, the shadow attribute of that says waiting for a knight to provide for you, seduction by romantic illusion. So there is a need for you to kind of release any kind of expectations that you have in this person, for them to change for you or because of you, for them to adhere and come like running in as your like knight in shining armor, because it's just not what they're looking to do. They are really out to have experiences. What do my pile twos, my group twos, what do they need to bring awareness to in this connection? Oh my goodness, that went flying. I can see it though, it's on the ground. It says transitions. We have transitions. You have all of the inner resources you need to cross whatever bridges arise on your path. You don't need them. You don't need them even to be that vessel, right? You are able to really create a lot of energy and make it into something. You're able to do a lot on your own. And, you know, especially with this mother card, you just might not feel like you want to do it on your own, right? You might want a counterpart. You want someone that gives you direct feedback of, I'm putting this energy into you, now you give me feedback, because that's what a mother wants. She wants to nurture something and receive feedback. I think this is more abstract for you though. You need to nurture a part of yourself so that it can like come out externally and grow into its own thing. The resonance that you're looking for isn't going to come from this connection. It will come through this connection, but not from this person. This is definitely driving you to create or to connect to that inner part of you, but it's not because of this person. Let's get some advice for you within this connection. Minimize guilt. Oh my goodness. And look how it flew, like right over here on your side where we had this card that says instilling guilt. This is really tough, because I'm sure you have every right to be upset because of past transgressions or difficulties within this connection. But there is no point in making them feel guilty, because this is just who they are right now. And again, I'm focusing on you, right? We're not dissecting what has happened in their life. Why are they showing up this way? Because it's none of our business and it's theirs to unpack. But there are reasons for them to show up this way. There are reasons that they are like this. And it also doesn't completely define who they are as a person. This is how they are showing up in this connection. And especially within one-on-one connections, you know, sometimes we trigger each other in a way where it's like, only a certain aspect of ourselves gets to express themselves. And so I don't know if you two specifically bring out the worst in each other. This Devil card does seem to indicate a little bit of that. But ultimately, I think this person is kind of wrapped up in their own stuff, and this is about you, right? So we're talking about minimizing guilt. Minimizing guilt. So there is no point in making them feel guilty for who they are. Of course, if there have been promises, or if there have been certain communications that weren't honored, Yeah, of course, you have the right to be upset about these things. But there is still a difference between being upset and making someone feel guilty. Also, at the same time, if you feel guilt because when you are really empowered within this, you kind of completely withdraw. You don't need to feel guilty about that either, because again, I'm not too worried about them. We have follow it. I like this because again, there's something where this is, what is this? There's a saying, it's a means to an end. This connection is a means to an end. This feels like an exploration of passion in a way that allows you to utilize that experience in a way that creates something new. I will tell you right now, this is not going, don't be scared. This is not going to be for everyone, but there is someone where this could quite literally be the kind of situation where you actually have a child with this person, and you you need to, in that case, you just need to focus on that child. You cannot guilt this person into showing up and being responsible. They have their own relationship with that child, and if they're not capable of getting their shit together to show up and support, you have every right to be upset. However, Spirit wants you to focus on your relationship with this child. And again, that's not going to be for everyone, but the child can also be a metaphor for your, whatever it is that you bring into the world based off of this connection, like whatever this inspires you to birth. I'm going to pull some tarot cards now, to just a couple, to take a look at how Spirit wants you to proceed with this connection. How do you want group 2 to proceed within this connection? And we have the 3 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I'm sensing distance. But very interesting. We have the Moon, we have the Lovers, and we have the 4 of Pentacles. If I read this quite literally, any emotions, any strong emotions that you have, because again, I see it. This is a very passionate kind of, I did say in the beginning I was going to try and keep it neutral. I didn't do that at all, did I? But if this is a situation that isn't romantic, then pretty much everything still applies, because it is really just passion and expectation. It doesn't have to be sexual in nature. It can just be very a passionate exchange and using the power of, the power of emotional control for private agendas. Like, it doesn't have to be romantic. However, I am still getting a very strong romantic vibe here. And what I'm seeing is any kind of strong emotions that you experience from this connection, Spirit is asking you to reserve those for your own passion projects. Reserve that passion. Hold on to that feeling and transmute that into something that you can create that really allows you to benefit from it. Because you know what? If this is a dramatic kind of connection, drama feeds so much of the arts. I mean, not just theater, but music needs drama. Paintings need drama, all of that beautiful creation. And even if you're listening to this and you don't find that you are a artistic person, I think there's something that you aspire to that still is really able to use this as fuel. Whether that is you wanting to show up as your best self in your next connection, or whether that is, using the passion, using the drive. There's so much, passion in general. It's something that almost like it burns, right? But it like, I don't know, it energizes itself, right? So that's a lot of energy that we create on a connection that seems futile at this point. So Spirit is really asking you to hold on to a lot of that passion and to put it into something with this Lover's card that you really care about, because there's a lot of energy that you're feeding into this situation subconsciously, and that is energy that they want you to put directly into something that is going to be worthwhile. They don't want you to just throw that out there, throw it at them, because this person, again, is not going to fully be able to, it just feels like putting really high stakes energy out the window when you can really use it to your benefit. And then once you start using it to your benefit, you're actually able to see yourself in a different light, because you're like, oh my God, I made this happen. This is amazing. Like, look at and then they get no credit, which is beautiful. They don't need credit. They really don't need, they're not asking for credit either, because they're out there living like their experiences. Okay, I'm going to pull one last oracle card, and this one we're going to read from the booklet. Like a Bird, 22. Focus, forward-looking possibilities, and motivation. A woman full of expectations looks into the future. There are no boundaries to what she can accomplish. Like the bird next to her who flies strong and direct, she knows now is the time for focused energy. Absolutely. You may have found yourself losing motivation lately or questioning your decisions. The key to recapturing your passion lies in readjusting your focus to unlock creativity. Surround yourself with activities or people who make you feel inspired. They can be the breath of wind under your wings. I love this. You are meant to come out of this connection very inspired and I know it's not going to feel that way, because it's the kind of inspiration where it's like you have to create almost out of spite in the beginning. But then once you get the hang of it with this Hermit card, seek solitude to focus intently on inner life. Remember this Transitions card serves personal creativity. Once you get the hang of it, once you follow and lean into it, I think you're really going to feel very much empowered. I love this. I actually really do love this. So, the fact that we start off with the Devil, which is very much about this unhealthy attachment, by focusing all of your passionate energy back onto yourself instead of this other person, you're really able to kind of break free from that unhealthy attachment. And then you can still engage with this person, but you'll be engaging with them from a more empowered point of view, and also in a way where you're not throwing that passion back at them, but you're using it for your own personal gain. And when you're not throwing that passion back at them, that's going to do something very different for them. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that this was helpful and interesting, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, group 3. This is your reading if you chose this beautiful blue and gray and white seashell. I'm going to set this right here, and we're going to take a look at the card that came out for you. We have the Ten of Wands. Oof, heavy. All of the tarot cards that came out have been very, very on brand for difficult connections. I mean, that's how this works, right? But still, it's always interesting to see. So this card represents kind of like the overall vibe of the connection at this point in time, and it feels like just a lot of work. And you might possibly be feeling like you're doing a lot of work in this on your own. And I think you're just about ready to give up. I think you're just about ready to throw those wands on the ground and say, you know what? It's not my burden to carry all of these. Let's start with these archetype cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm pulling 2 cards for each person. The first card will be, who are you when you show up at your best within this connection? The second card, sorry, the first card is at your worst. I want to stick to, otherwise I'll get confused. I want to stick to the way I've been doing it. Who are you when you show up in this connection at your worst and then at your best? And then we will take a look at the other person. Who are they when they show up in this connection at their worst and at their best? So for group 3, who are they within this connection when they show up as their worst? When group 3 shows up at their worst within this connection, who are they? We have Gambler, and I will read to you what these cards say. They have a light attribute and a shadow attribute. We'll get to that when all the cards are out. Who are they when they show up as their best within this connection? We have Avenger. And then for the other person in this connection, who are they when they show up as their worst? We have the Fool. Oh my God, I'm already getting a strong sense that this might have to do with either friendship or work. Who are they at their best? Who is this other person at their best? We have Child, Nature. Notice all the greens. They're all green. And then the common ground in this connection is Addict. Oh, I'm strongly feeling that this might be kind of like a work situation, because I do see a strong dependency here with the addict in the middle. And I'm also getting the sense that there is a kind of like an unfair dependency. Like if this is a kind of work connection where it's like one is actually technically has more responsibilities than the other. So whether that is your boss, that would be on this side. I'm feeling like there's, okay, let me get into what these cards say. So within this connection, at your worst, it says relying on luck rather than hard work, Gambler. At your best, it says desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. The other person in this connection, at their worst, using humor to wound rather than liberate, denial of your emotional truth. At their best, friendships with animals, communication with nature, spirits. And then in the middle, we have the light attribute of Addict is helps you recognize and confront addictive behaviors, and the shadow attributes compromises integrity and honesty, allows an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit. Okay, so what I'm picking up here is that, and let me say right quick before I get into it, because I said it in the other groups as well, we're going to focus heavily on you. We are taking a brief look at how these other people show up, but we're not dissecting why they're showing up that way, because we're not doing emotional labor for other people. We're here to support you. Other people need to do their own labor, okay? So for you, The sense that I'm getting is that at your worst, when you show up in this connection, you're already tired. At your worst, you're like, I have tried. I have been caring. I've been trying to make this work. I've been trying to make this right. You have a strong desire for balance, as we see with this desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. This doesn't just feel like, oh, you want things to be right and balanced out of like a need or necessity just for yourself. This feels like you are wanting things to be right in a greater picture. So if this isn't a boss, it does feel like this is some kind of authority that does not show up as an authority. And it's really difficult for you to deal with that because it feels like you have to deal with the fallout of this authority figure not showing up, not doing their job correctly. And that doesn't have to just be a job. That can also be a parental figure, being really frustrated because you are possibly an older sibling having to deal with the fallout of a parental figure not showing up. Within a friendship, that can also be you being really frustrated that this friend is kind of distant. But in any case, this person is not fully showing up. And that's been a theme throughout all these readings, actually. But again, we're focusing on you. This person, we're focusing on you, and then I immediately went back, but because I do want to finish my thought around this. This person seems to not, when things are easy, they're so easy. It's like, it's nice because they seem very genuine. This person doesn't want to deal with difficult situations. This person doesn't want to have to deal with situations that make them uncomfortable, and so they avoid that. They show up when it's all love and light. When things become more difficult, when the hard decisions need to be made, they completely avert their responsibilities in some sense. What I'm seeing here in terms of the common ground, it's interesting how these are all green and then we have this red wall in the middle, because the common ground being addict, it feels to me like there is a necessity in this relationship, meaning you're so tired of carrying a lot of this and trying to manage this because there is a relationship here, a connection here that is facilitated through some sort of dependency. So that's why I'm feeling a strong pull, like this is kind of like a work thing, because that would be the dependency. Like you have to show up for your boss because you need a paycheck, right? That kind of situation. Or you have to make things right because you live with this person, whether that is family or a roommate. It just seems like this person really doesn't want to fully show up when it comes to responsibilities, and therefore you feel the burden of responsibilities like a lot stronger, and you're getting to the point where whenever you are fed up with it, when you show up as your worst, because again, I think you've really showed up at your best for the longest time, and when you're really exhausted is when you show up at your worst, and that's when you're like, you just throw it to the ground and you're like, you know what, if you're gonna skate by, I'm gonna skate by. If you're gonna pretend there's not an issue here, then I'm gonna pretend like there's not an issue here. And because of this, honestly, on both sides, I'm getting like a little bit of childish energy, but less so on your side, more on their side. But on your side, it is a childish energy out of spite. However, we have this dependency here in the middle, right? Helps you recognize and confront addictive behavior. Compromises integrity and honesty. Yeah, I do feel that there is an issue here where you feel like you cannot actually approach this person because they don't like confrontation, and they might be extra sensitive to confrontation to the point where when you just bring up an issue, it's like, this isn't a confrontation. You're coming up and you're like, I'm not blaming you for this, but this is something that needs to be addressed. This needs our awareness, and they shy away from that. Like, they shy away and they just really feel uneasy when it comes to things like that, which is probably why in the past you've started taking on more responsibilities than you should have. So you've kind of picked up, like, because you're like, ah, that person is too sensitive, they're not going to be able to deal with this. This is just a little thing. It's fine. I'll deal with that. And then that kept happening, and it kept happening, and it kept happening. And now we're at this point where you have overextended yourself because this person seems not to be able to deal with either reality, or they're just not, they just, they have their special moments, but there's something where they're not cut out to do their job. And so you stepped in. And so you're actually facilitating like somebody else's authority. Like, you are upholding somebody else's authority because you're more capable, actually. Let's roll some dice. Yep, I knew it. I freaking knew it. We have the 10th house, which is the house of career. We have Capricorn, and we have Mars. You're like, can we fix this? Can we get this done? If we just address the faulty foundation here, we can fix this. But this person is not willing to put in the kind of work. They just cannot show up when it comes to responsibilities. And that's really frustrating for you, because you, I think, are a natural fixer and a natural leader, and you are very strategic, and yet at your worst this situation is so frustrating that you just like throw your hands up and you're like, F it, like, whatever, like, and it gets you to a boiling point. I feel like this situation is actually really showing you where you need to step out on your own and detach from this, because this does seem really frustrating. I don't know why they are showing up this way, but again, we're not doing emotional labor for them, because the only thing that would do, if we go into detail of like, oh no, why is this person showing up this way? That just gives more excuses for you to take on extra work, right? So we're showing up for you. And for you, I feel like you have this sense of like, this isn't right. Look at how this person here has a blindfold on, and this person here has a mask on. So I think you feel like you go into certain situations where you're like, this isn't right. This shouldn't be this way. And you quite possibly feel the responsibility to act in a way that I'm getting the sense of, in a workplace environment, if you are part of a team and your boss is just kind of all over the place, that everyone complains, everyone in the team complains, but you're the one that would actually stand up and take action. You're the one that would be like, okay, but then we need to do it this way. Then we need to bring this to their attention. And you get to that point because you get frustrated, because it's like, well, if nobody else is going to do it, then I'm going to have to do it. And so you take on this almost like Avenger, like vigilante energy. But yet when you get too frustrated, when you show up at your worst within this connection, you're just tired of it. And you're like, you know what? If nobody else is going to do anything, if nobody else is going to act, then I'm just going to close my eyes, and I'm going to pretend like I don't know what's going on either, because that's how everybody else gets by, and they go home after work and they're not as frustrated as I am. However, you have this frustration because of this Mars energy, and your 10th house, I don't even know if I got there. 10th house is the house of career, is also the highest point. I think you're a very capable person, and you're being stifled by somebody else's lack of showing up. This very strongly feels like this is a boss or some kind of superior or a parent. And of course, there are situations where we feel like we're stuck because we have other responsibilities that we need to tend to, so we have to make a certain thing work, or we feel like we're stuck because we live with this person, right? Because they are family, or because they are someone who provides us some kind of stability, whether that is financial or any kind of material stability that we receive from this connection. Let's start pulling some oracle cards. So it can be really frustrating because it doesn't feel like this is something that you can necessarily break free from or distance yourself from. So we're going to try and figure out how to manage this this relationship or connection, I should say. So what is there that pile 3, group 3 needs to bring their awareness to within this connection? What do we need to bring our awareness to? Look at that, we have voice. And you know what? I have another one that really wants to come out here. Wisdom in play. Yeah, we have voice and wisdom in play. I think there's definitely this feeling of you actually having, if this is somebody that was a sense of or a point of guidance in the past, I think you've gotten to a point where you've outgrown this person. We have voice. You are here to be known, so speak and be seen. Wisdom in play. Our intuition knows more than we do. I get the sense that you have outgrown this person in some capacity, and you are actually meant to, use your voice in a way that makes you feel more empowered. Again, though, I do feel that there is some kind of connection. This connection has some kind of relationship where you don't feel like you're in a position to be able to do that. And so then my question to you is, especially if this is a work situation, is this something where you can remove yourself? Because if this is work, I do feel like your capabilities are underappreciated, undervalued where you are at. Are you able to employ the very clear capabilities that you have? Are you able to employ those somewhere other where they would be more valued, more respected, where you would be the point of authority? Because it doesn't feel like this is working. Let's get some advice. Because clearly you have some things to say, you have a good understanding, like you're just very knowledgeable, and yet this is a very stifling energy. Because you have to manage them and sorry, my brain just went in a circle. In order for you to fully express your full potential, I think there's something where we need to remove ourselves in some capacity from this. But it just seems very difficult because of this addict, because there is some kind of connecting factor here. And get some advice. Reverse disassociation. That's what I'm getting with this gambler. Again, if this is a work situation, it feels like you've just gotten so fed up with this person where you're like, I'm just going to pretend I don't know anything. I'm just going to, you just put some blindfolds on. And this card is asking you to reverse that is not making you happy, that is not bringing you, it's actually making you more restless. It's actually making you more frustrated, especially with this Mars energy. You're turning that energy just inward, although what we want to do is turn it outward so that we can create movement out of this situation, but you're turning it inward, and that is creating frustration. So reverse disassociation is actually asking you to take that blindfold off and to look at what is going on and to face the fact that because this gambler energy feels very much like well, if nobody else is acting upon this, then I won't act either. But that's not who you are. You're not everybody else. And that's why it's frustrating you even more, I think. You are not everybody else. You, unfortunately, are a very capable human being who needs to be surrounded by other capable human beings. And I don't want to say this person isn't capable. It just seems like they need a lot of guidance. They need a lot of extra things provided for them. I don't know. There's just, like I said, when it's good because this person is a very emotional person. Like, they're very kind, and that can almost make it more difficult because, trying to tell a kind person that they need to be more attentive to their responsibilities, I just get the sense that they probably get really offended or hurt because they probably think they are doing that already, and yet I don't think they're not showing up in the same capable way that you are. And they have their own reasons, but still it's really frustrating to you. Let's get some advice. Whoa. Support. I'm going to set this over here, but only because I'm running out of space. I want to get another one. Support. Oh, interesting though, the fact that I said it over here. I think this kind of reiterates the fact that you are very much their support. And blessings. I just heard fly the coop. Fly the coop. Okay, again, if this is a parent kind of situation, obviously there is a relationship that is very much a dependency, because you might be living together. But if you are at a point, excuse me, if you are at that point where you're getting ready to fly the coop, this restless energy within you is just like building you up to really be ready and to be excuse me, I'm gonna take a drink of tea. To really be ready to kind of spread your wings. Because in some way, this is the other thing, if again, going back to if this is a job, their incapability has actually made you extra capable. And so while you've had to be a support system for this person in some capacity, there is this sense that it gave you a lot. It really showed you in which way you are actually able to show up. Like, there's just a lot that it honed your skills in some way. I'm also now seeing, again, if this is a parent, you might feel, actually no. If this is a parent, you might actually deal with a parent that does have addiction issues. And that can be really frustrating because it definitely put you in a position to have to show up as an adult and not a child. And it really kind of feels like it reversed the relationship here. And because addiction is an illness, there may be this sense of, you can't use their addiction against them because they're really sensitive about that. But it can also be really frustrating when you deal with someone who struggles with addiction, because you of course also have needs that are meant to be met and acknowledged. And you not having to deal with an illness doesn't mean that you're not struggling under that illness as well, right? So that's just something that I want to acknowledge. Let me see. I'm going to get some advice. We're going to pull 3 tarot cards to get some advice on how to move forward within this connection. How does Spirit want you to proceed when it comes to this connection? Okay. I am feeling strongly that we have the 8 of Swords, we have the 6 of Swords, and we have the Queen of Pentacles. With this 8 of Swords, I am getting the sense of, a lot of times this image talks about being in like a prison of your own making. I don't get that within this context. I think this card is actually asking us to acknowledge that you have dealt with a lot of things that have limited you because you had a lot of responsibilities that weren't supposed to be your responsibilities. And so this is about acknowledging that while you were in this situation that feels like a prison of a mental sort, because there was some kind of dependency, that you are in a transitioning period where you're going to be able to break free from this and move on, and you're actually moving on in a way that really sets you up for a greater understanding whenever you deal with a kind of person like this, or there's just something where you've been really primed. Even though this has been so frustrating, it has made you, I don't want to give this person all the credit, but part of this was integral in making you a very capable person. This definitely played into it in some way. It kind of like shaped certain aspects of your capabilities, of your knowledge, your understanding. And as you're moving on from this, there's a lot that you are taking with you that you didn't fully acknowledge before. And so then we have this Queen of Pentacles. There is a time to confront and fight and blame and speak your mind. I'm not seeing that with this situation. I am seeing kind of like a just move on with what you know is true and focus on providing your own stability. So if this is a job, I do feel that you possibly have become a type of crutch for someone when you're at a point or getting to a point where you're not anybody's crutch. If anything, you should be their leader, right? You're getting to a point where it's like you are capable of providing for yourself much better what this person should have provided for you. So I am seeing a journey to you being able to care for yourself when it comes to matters of responsibility. Absolutely. You're outgrowing whatever this connection was. I am pulling one last oracle card, and then we are going to read that one from the booklet for group 3. Eva. I am already picking up on you have grown. I mean, we had all this green, right? And then in the middle was this red. Look at this card that beautifully unites the green and the red. I really feel that you've been in a situation within this connection where it was, like I said, when this person was at their best, they're very possibly emotionally supportive, but they can't show up in a material way. They struggle showing up in true responsibility. And I think this has really helped you to shape into the kind of person that understands both aspects, showing up in an emotional way and showing up in a material way. And that really kind of um, really sets you up for a lot of great energy moving forward. But let's read what it says. Oh, I'm not. Let's see. I have to read it, but I'm not a fan of it so far. It says duplicity, deception, caution. Out of the jungle steps a woman, half of her body covered with exotic plants and flowers. A snake wriggles around her neck. The woman presents herself like a sweet fruit to be picked. She offers excitement and novelty, but be careful. Her kiss could be as toxic as the bite of a snake. Like a deceitful friend or lover, her unreadable countenance masks her true intentions. You know what comes to mind with this person is, oh, what is it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Um, it's not just incompetence, weaponized incompetence, because this person knows that if they don't show up for their responsibilities, someone else will. And I feel like that someone else is usually you, to the point where you get really exhausted from it and then you're like, no, I'm done here. And that's the thing. This person probably does this because they've learned that they get away with it. Because someone will always come and clean up their mess. And I think if you don't start removing yourself from the situation, it will get to the point where this energy is going to turn you bitter, and then it will be kind of like weaponized incompetence versus like weaponized enabling, if that makes sense, because you're going to get to a point where you're going to be really resentful of this person. And so I do think that there's a need for some distance, and a need for you to really acknowledge with this Queen of Pentacles and this Six of Swords that there's a lot that you've learned from it. And even though this person didn't give you all that they maybe promised or that they should have given you, because there is a social contract that clearly was in place, even though they didn't live up to their social contract, that you can come out of this kind of securing your own. I hope that that makes sense. I think you're a very capable person, and I think it's incredibly frustrating for you to have to navigate this very delicate situation, but I think you've learned a lot because of it, and in spite of it. And I think going forward, you are going to be unstoppable, but you do need to kind of distance yourself from this. And then, once you are distanced from this situation, especially if this is a family kind of connection, you might be able to come back to this connection with a lighter point of view. And when there's less of a dependency in the middle, you might be able to approach this connection in a way where it really helps you appreciate their lightness and their kindness, like the good things that are there. When the dependency between the two of you is released, I think you're able to really value this person in a very different way. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I really hope that this was interesting, that it resonated, and that it was helpful. And I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.